Hi folks, this is Jason from MrTheBigMan.net, back with part 3, where we're going to be looking at macros. More importantly and more specifically, I'm going to show you how to take an existing macro, in this case the 3-port oscillator, 3-pole oscillator. We're going to change it into a 5-pole oscillator, and we're going to add a mixer or a volume control into that for each of the oscillators to save us having to do it out in the main ensemble itself. So what I'm going to do is I've dragged out a macro file here. I'll just show you where to get it. You'll find it in the browser under factory. If you just click on macros, you'll just see here you'll get a 1 in 1 out or 2 in 2 out. For the interest of this, I'd like that to I'll just choose that for the time being, the 2 in 2 out. I'll show you what it looks like whenever you go into it. Simply it's that. It's a left and right in, the left and right out. Obviously we might not want that to be the case. We might want that to be MIDI controls such as pitch and the A for the ADSR input, but we'll change that as we go. I'll just go back out onto the instrument pane and we'll select macro 1. Now what I've done here is I have dragged in a full instance of a 3-pole oscillator, and then it already has quite a lot of the pitch stuff done. It already has 3 oscillators in there. What I want to do is add 2 further oscillators and a mixer to that, and we'll go through how we do that as we go along. So I'm just going to double click into that now, and you can see here's the 2 inputs that we saw before, and what I've done is I've taken it to 1 output because we only need 1 output for this particular oscillator. You can see here the 3 oscillators that are there, so that's pulse, sawtooth and triangle. We have a separator then, which is essentially a button or a switch that allows us to choose which of these we want to use. I'll show you that on the main panel. So you can see that here. We either choose a pulse, a saw, or a triangle, and we just press on the button. Just take this off. You just press on the button and it changes it. So we want to add another 2 in there for the 2 oscillators that we're actually going to bring in. So we'll just go back into this view here for macro 1. Now you can see up here we've got our imports. Now we know what we've learned so far is that we have no pitch to go in there. So that's P for pitch and A for the ADSR input. So we just want to change that in the viewer. I'm literally going to just mark that as P and A. Now if we go back out into the main stage, we can now see that this has changed to P and A. So we know that we're getting the gate input in and we're getting the pitch input into that particular macro. I just double click on that now. We take a look at our 2 new oscillators which I've brought in. So I've got a sine oscillator for a sine wave, and then I've got a noise oscillator for a random piece of stupidity, really. And we're literally going to do this in exactly the same way as we've done before. So here's our pitch output. We can see P's going into here. It's being added against all of this. I'm just going to drag that out into the P, and we drag the P back over into here and connected those 2 up. I'm going to take our A input for our gate and put that against the A again, and the same again here. Okay, so we now have 5 oscillators that are now bridged up. However, we only have 3 buttons, and that's something that we need to look at here with the separator. So if I click on that, like I said before, this is just a button that allows us to select which oscillator we want. Now we obviously want 5 ports, so we'll go here again just like we did with the mixer earlier. We'll select 5, and that will give us 2 more additional input ports. What I'm going to do with that is I'm going to change the name of that by just double clicking. You'll see that this happens, and I'm going to change that to sound, and I'm going to change this to noise. If we go back out into the main panel, you'll now see that we have 2 additional buttons that we can choose for our sine wave and for our noise wave. So go back into the macro again. That's a fairly set up. That's a brand new oscillator. We just need to link in the outputs from the sine wave into the separator, and we need to pull the noise wave into the separator itself, and that is a fully working oscillator and will work perfectly fine, just in the same way as we did in the first tutorial where we connected one oscillator to the output. However, as we saw in the last one, we can set up a mixer to mix the different signals as a separate part of the ensemble itself, but it's probably a good idea just to do it within this particular macro itself. So what I've done is I've taken a mixer here, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm just going to take this away from the separator. I'm going to put this in front. I'm going to put the separator into the input of the mixer and connect the mixer to the output of the macro itself. And I'm going to do the same thing again as I did the last time. I'm going to control click as I'm on Mac, but obviously it'll be right click if you're elsewhere. And that will give me a slider then that I can use to control the amount of volume coming out of this. So I'm literally going to mark that as volume. Okay, so I'm going to go into the view panel for this, and you'll see it gives me options on what I want that to look like. Currently it's set to vertical fader. Now, because the actual we look at the panel itself, everything is generally done via knob. We're going to change that and put the knob in this corner, so that we have a volume knob for this particular macro itself. So I'm just going to go back in and I'm going to select knob here, and that will now show in the panel as an actual knob itself, and we'll just drag that down so that you can see that that is the case. So now we have a separate volume knob that will allow us to control how much of the output of the oscillator is being fed through into the filters. And then all we do from there is go back out into the main instrument. You can then take macro 1. I'm going to control click again, but obviously it'll be different depending on what system you're using. And then I'm going to save the macro as, and I'm literally going to save that as 5 pole, which I have done already here, as you can see. And that will be available on the website once I've got all of these videos completed and the full article put up there.